Welcome to the Consumer Data Standards version 1.15.0. My name is Jarryd Judd and I'm from the Data Standards body, and I'm going to walk you through today's changes as part of the latest update to the Consumer Data Standards. This has been published in late 2021 and it's an enormous update for the standards, including a number of decision proposals, as well as the conclusion and outcomes of the 9th maintenance iteration. So to start off today, what we'll do first is we'll jump into the changelog. Now, the first caveat for today's video is that I'm looking at standard staging. Now, for those who are part of the 9th maintenance iteration or the regular maintenance iterations that we hold, you will note that standard staging is something that we encourage the community to be part of. As we progress and make changes to the standards, often changes are staged, as the name implies, to this particular environment to demonstrate how the standards will look like with the changes included. This is a great way for the community to get a feel, read the changes in its entirety, check our work. We always encourage feedback and input there, as well as have a final say on how the overall standards will look. So what I'm going to do today is walk through what 115 looks like on staging standards as it is today. Now, first up, on the introduction page, the first thing I'd love to call out is a great new feature that we've introduced. That is called, in the top right-hand corner, on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see version delta up in the top right-hand corner. This is fantastic. So I know a lot of people, particularly with my time in the Data Standards body, have requested, hey, can we see a delta between the changes of the prior version of the standards and the new version? That's a lot of work to undertake. We're a small team to make some of these changes, and we finally be able to include this as part of version 115. So what this includes here. So what we've outlined is in green with a little plus sign next to it is when we've added new text. And then the minus with some yellow or goldish, if you want to call it, has the older text and how it's been included. And they'll be tracked on the side. Remember, this is the first cut, so there'll be some formatting issues here and there. There's a word wrapping problem as well, being upfront about it. But this is a great first step to make things easier for everyone to understand. So, on top of that, and seeing this great new thing, this will make my life a lot easier as I record this video and walk through the changes for everyone. But where we'll start is we'll jump into the changelog. So when you jump into the changelog, as you've seen with all our releases up to date, we try and capture as many of the details here as possible. Often there is a little bit of a summary of it to roll it up. We don't go into the gratuitous detail on each of the line-by-line changes. Will allow the version delta to actually highlight those changes in the standards, which will make your reading easier. But at the start here, it is just to outline keynote pieces that have changed. So on this page, you can see 115, we're aiming for the 23rd of December, nothing like a Christmas present to close out 2021. And then if you want, you hit release notes is where we go into the detail. And here we are. So on this page, we sort of group each of the different changes as you've seen in our prior videos. So what we're going to start off with first is high level standards. So we group the changes into here, and there are 3 key ones to outline. Up first is we've added in the energy and register endpoints to make sure that this is in sort of the versioning scheduling, so even in that table, as what we've seen in banking. Now, the awesome piece here, you can hit endpoint versioning schedule, and we'll now link off and take us back to that page. And here, now you've got outlined, you can see how we've got the different section that's outlined. We've got the coloring around the different types. And if we just scroll down, here is the energy APIs are now included, which is great to see these. Energy shared responsibilities and the dynamic client APIs, security APIs, and common APIs. And the admin APIs, and finally the new CDR register APIs. So hopefully this shows this particular change. We've got a little bit of caveat here that this is not implemented by data holder and data recipients. It just gives a demonstration of those dates. So we'll now jump back. Next one up is around data quality NFRs. This was based on feedback from the OAIC and to align to the CDR privacy safeguards. So we can see this change. Again, you hit this link, jump through. Takes a minute to find its little anchor. There we go. And pops up. Now this is a great first step on looking at the version delta, and you can see that on the right. So on the right, you would be normally used to seeing the normative examples, which is when we have code samples that sit side by side that show like a payload or how the scope should look. But what we've added here for standard staging is that version Delta. So you pop that on and bam, we can now see the different changes. Up first, you've got where we've removed particular pieces or particular sentences that have been removed from the standards. And then up just below it, you can see what's been added for each of them. Note you can scroll right to see all the text. We do note there is a little bit of HTML formatting issue there. Apologies for the inconvenience on that, but that will be something that we'll look at correcting in the future, just to make it a bit easier, because even I know looking at that scroll is not that helpful there. That gives a change and the update into the data quality side. Now we'll just jump back to the changelog. Up next is API endpoints, and there are a heap of changes included here today. Now, these cover everything from get account details, get products, the energy schemas, register APIs, and get account details. So there's a lot here to be included and walk through. So we're going to start and work our way through. Now, let's start with get account details. So here we've got a number of changes, including get account detail v2, as well as extending the banking product feature support. So these have been included. So if we jump across to it, again, let it do its little thing. And here we are at get account detail. The next change included in the high level standards is the added schema list menu navigation and according to improve our scrolling and usability. Now, this is some feedback from our version 1.14 where we removed all the different schemas from the side menu. There was a lot of vocal feedback from all of the community. We appreciate that because that gave us direction on how we should move forward. So what does this mean? So on the left-hand side under our menus, you'll see you're able to click and view, and then from here you're able to view under schemas. So on the left hand side you'll see a schemas, it's the third last. You can now pop that open with a little accordion with the plus and minus, the standard controls, and you can now see each of the schemas that are held within. So this means you can link to and still use that table of contents to jump in to see each of these changes. So hope that makes a lot of the navigation, particularly for the analysts who work across these changes in the technical teams, to make your lives just a little bit easier to deal with these changes. Jumping back now to the version 1.15. Up next, we have all the API endpoints. A large amount of changes, the majority of these coming out of the 9th maintenance iteration, and wrapping up to some large changes across our energy schema, our products endpoints, our account details, payees, and customer detail, to just name a few that have been listed here. So what you can do for each of them, as we outlined, you can more or less click on each of the changes. It'll drop you through as it does its thing. And then on the right-hand side, so for example, here we've gone to the register APIs. You can now see how we've changed some of the wording or included new parts to the consumer data standards. Again, to reiterate, the gold is what has been removed, hence the minus, and the green with the plus sign shows what's been added. That includes some of the formatting. So you'll see in the last here around the table rows, it shows the pipes that are used as formatting as HTML markup to show the new row that's been added. So that just gives you some view into what's being displayed there raw, but it gives you an easy understanding of what's been changed in this version. Now, jumping back to our standards, that was just the register APIs. If we want to have a look at the energy schema, we can click on through and see the energy APIs are a number of changes. So you can see under the version Delta, there's a lot of pieces here. The key one being is that the removal of the statement of non-binding. So energy endpoints and the energy standards are now considered binding as of the decision and when that was passed down by the DSB chair. So the best way to refer to is to that particular decision proposal to outline when that came into effect. Otherwise, there have been a number of changes which we've fed back through the 9th maintenance iteration, as well as decision proposals on the energy sector. Hopefully these are all outlined and made easier for you to understand. And you can see on the right-hand side, there are a lot of small changes to sort of wrap up and bring the standards closer to where we want them to be. And we also have get account details, product details, payee details, and customer. And this ranges from including new versions of the both the get customer detail v2 and the get account detail v2 endpoints that have been included, to expanding to accommodate digital wallet payees, and extending the banking product feature support, which is more or less just more enumerated product features. So these have all been included in version 1.15 and to make the consumer data standards up to date. And that wraps up at a high level a lot of the changes. I'll allow the community to walk through each of these. You can also track in Decision Proposal 2.1.2 all the changes included in the 9th maintenance iteration that were concluded under consultation and made a decision on to include into the consumer data standards. Up next is our information security profile. And there's a lot to walk through here as well. So this ranges from everything from the FAPI 1.0 adoption, which is final, authorization scopes, profile scopes for OIDC, the arrangement endpoint updates, register validation, certificate management, to name a few. Now, the key one here is around the adoption of FAPI 1.0, and this was included in Decision Proposal 2.09. You can find a lot of the decisions and what was walked through there, and outlines 3 phases in accordance that was consulted on and decided as part of Decision Proposal 2.09. All these details can be found under Security Profile. So again, we can click that link, and I'll now take you through to the Security Profile in the standards and start to walk through these particular areas. It also has the phases, as well as some corrections that were included. Now, as we scroll through, you can see a number of the changes that have been included from the different areas. The other ones include the authorization scope. So if we look at the authorization scope table, we can see the inclusion of the CDR register read. This allows for participants outside the banking sector to get access to metadata. We also have inclusions of self-assigned JOT audiences, the data recipient CDR arrangement endpoint, the OIDC profile scope, register validation, the data holder responsibilities, certificate management and register validation, and finally, authorization for non-normative examples. There's a lot of detail included. This ranges from everything from some of the broken links, further clarification, or requirements that have been consulted on and worked through to support the consumer data standards. Finally, we have the consumer experience updates. So there's 2 key ones here. First is around the OIDC profile scope. This is just effectively updated the data language used for consumer experience for presenting the OIDC profile scope and individual claims. Now, you can find this under the profile scope under consumer experience. And again, just hit this link and it'll link you to the anchor in the standards. And as it loads and it'll find itself here, you can find the particular language section that has been included. So this hopefully gives some clarity on what's included and what not. This was also discussed in a CDR implementation call very recently in December 2021. And then finally, one of the big pieces is around joint accounts and the CX standards. So this is including any CX standards that arose from Decision Proposal 1.6.2, and this supports joint accounts and DOMS. Now you can find all of this under the consumer experience area, and you can walk through and have a look at those as well. Now remember, there are also consumer experience guidelines, and they are found, you can find the link at the top of consumer experience here. We always encourage you to use these guidelines in support of the standards. So this gives you an outline of what you should be doing and looking at. And that wraps up a lot of our changes in the version 1.15 of the Consumer Data Standards. It's been an enormous year. It's been an enormous release. We thank you again, the community, for your contributions and participation, both in the 9th maintenance iteration, as well as each of the decision proposals that have been included. It's been a fantastic undertaking. And also thank you to the technical team in the Data Standards body for working hard to get this out. It was a little bit later than we liked to publish this particular release. However, it was very necessary to get this out to support the continued evolution and iteration of the consumer data standards. That's all I have. I hope you all stay safe and well. Bye for now.